Hello, I'm Sylvia Smith, President of Western Title. We are a large title agency throughout northern Nevada. We trace our roots back to 1902. That's a long time. We have a lot of great people, and we can help you throughout any aspect of your real estate transaction. We can handle anything from vacant land, residential, refinance, all the way to a convoluted commercial transaction. We also have full service title, escrow, exchange services, and foreclosure services. The foreclosure is hugely important right now with the new changes in the laws, and we're equipped and ready to help you with that. We have 7 branches throughout Nevada, so we're sure to be in any location you would need us. Today, we're going to talk to you about the escrow process. If you've ever purchased or refinanced your home, you know you get this call. You walk into the title company, we shove a stack of papers in front of you and say, sign here. So we're going to try to demystify that process a little bit for you today. And with me, we have Traci Adams. Traci is one of our escrow officers in our Douglas County operation. Traci brings with her over 25 years of experience. So we're going to kind of walk through this a little bit and get started. So thank you, Traci, for doing this with me today.
Well, thank you, Sylvia, for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you start us off, and maybe you could explain to the audience exactly what does an escrow officer do?
Well, we serve as a neutral party in communications with all the parties in the transaction. That would include the buyer, seller, lender, real estate agents, and if any attorneys are in fact involved in the file.
Great. So once we get an order opened, and that's our favorite part, is opening the escrow, can you maybe tell us a little bit about what are you doing behind the scenes so that when it does get to the end, everyone is comfortable with what's happened? Maybe you could walk us through a little bit. Once it opens, then what happens?
Well, I first want to thank all the real estate agents that do open those orders up with us. We really appreciate that. I would go ahead and first order the preliminary title report with our title department. And then once they finish the preliminary title report, they will send it to me, then I'll review it. And I'll also send out the preliminary title report to the buyers, sellers, real estate agent, and lender if there's a lender involved.
So everyone gets to review that prior to, so they know early on in the transaction what may be of record that could affect that property.
Correct. There would be any easements, any HOAs that you could find. Homeowner associations will show on the preliminary title report. Any liens on the property, judgments, deeds of trust. A deed of trust is what a loan that's currently out on the property.
And if there's something listed on that title report and they have a question on that, they would contact you to get a copy of those documents if they wanted to actually take the time and read that super thick stack of the covenants, conditions, and restrictions.
Absolutely, right. And usually we do send those out to them. Not all the exceptions are sent out, but the CC&Rs, which lets you know what you can and cannot do on that property.
Right. And then what else are you doing at that time?
Well, at the meantime, the real estate agent is getting the inspections done for the buyer, whichever inspections the buyer wants to have done, the pest inspection, the structural inspection. And so once that's complete, it's a good time to start my escrow documentation.
And that might consist of what would really come out of that at that point?
We would the escrow instructions pretty much comes off the contract what the real estate agent has discussed with the buyer and seller and what they've already agreed upon. And we'll also prepare a settlement statement which will show exactly how much the seller will be receiving back and then what the buyers can expect to bring in.
Great. And so then my lender will work with you, is that correct? Once I've gone through the process and my loan is approved, and then what happens at that point? The lender sends you everything?
Yes, the lender will either email. They usually email anymore. We get email the loan documents to me, and then we'll go ahead and call the buyer in at that time. And at that time, the buyer can sign their escrow papers that I have prepared, and the sellers also are ready to sign, and they will need a notary. And I know that all of Western Title escrow officers are notarized public notary public, excuse me. And so it makes it very easy for the seller to come in and sign, and for me to be able to sign and help out to sign the loan documents, because there will be some documentation that will need to be notarized in those loan documents as well.
So when we get down to the end, then you will be the one calling me, telling me how much money I need to bring in to close escrow. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. By
great.
the time you sign the loan documents, because I'll know what all your loan fees are at that time, I will have a better idea how much you will need to bring in to finalize your close of your sale.
So when that happens, you'll be calling me, and then I'll come and see you. And what should I expect when I do get that wonderful call that my escrow's ready to close? What should I expect when I come and see you?
Well, try to set an hour and a half aside so we can review all the documents. And
That's that 1-inch thick stack.
yeah, the huge stack of paperwork, and it does get shoved in front of you, and you're like, whoa, I'm overwhelmed. But no worries, because we can answer any questions that you may have, and we'll go ahead and sign you up then. And then at that time, we will figure out if you want to bring in your funds on a cashier's check or a wire, and that's the remaining funds you will need to bring in. A cashier's check, we ask for 2 days prior to closing to make sure we have good funds. That's a good funds law we have here in Nevada. And so if you choose to do a wire transaction, which is just great because that goes in immediate and we don't have any time to wait. We could do it that same day, but I prefer if you go in at 10 o'clock in the morning to do your wire, so then that ensures us to have the funds in time, since your bank will need to set them up. It goes to the Federal Reserve Bank and then back to us. So it does have a little process to get here. It's just not, you just can't go in there at noon and expect us to get it by 1, since our wire cutoff time is around 2, and we're playing it really close there, and we want to make sure we have those funds if you would like to have that property that day.
Great. So sometimes it sounds like then it could be we need you to come in today and sign. Is that correct? It could be.
Yes.
And most times.
Sometimes, yeah, loan documents are time sensitive. So the day the lender draws those documents, we have to sign the date those loan documents appear on those. So we're like rushing around, but we'll get you in, we'll get you to sign, and it could be, it could be in the morning. We'll get you in the morning so we can sign, because then that lender, if they time sensitive, they'll do a fax funding, and what that is that we have to meet conditions with the lender, and they'll want to see certain items on your loan documents, like the note and deed of trust, the new deed that's being transferred to you, make sure the vesting's all correct. Right. And so we'll shoot that all to the lender prior to their funding cutoff, so then we can meet all the conditions, so then the lender will go ahead and proceed to wire us your loan funds.
So it sounds like a lot of things come right down to the wire.
It does. Anymore,
it's
pretty rushed anymore, yeah.
So if I'm going to buy or refinance and I know my loan documents are going to escrow, I should try to be available.
Please be available
pretty quickly to get in.
Yeah, in a perfect world, a week out would be nice to have those loan documents, but
yes,
it's not like that anymore.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
And then also you touched a little bit earlier on vesting. Can you explain that a little bit about who can really direct the buyer in understanding that piece of it? We get asked that question a lot, so maybe you could touch on that.
Right. I'm not legally capable of giving you legal advice, but I do have paperwork that kind of identifies all the different types of vestings that you could choose from, and then that just kind of helps you out if you want to do joint tenants or community property. Okay,
but in the end, really, I should talk to an attorney or CPA.
If you're that really concerned about it, I would definitely be concerned about that.
Okay, so now we've signed papers and you've jumped through all the hoops and my lender's funded. Can you explain to me what's going to happen now?
Well, we have a process, and we get our policy ready, and that's all the documentation, a deed of trust, the deed that's transferred into your name. We need to get that all ready for our title department so they can record the documents with the county. So I'll go ahead and send them all the signed, ready to go documents so we can go ahead and record those. And once we have the loan funds from the lender, then we can release those documents with title. And then they'll go ahead and record them with the Douglas County. And then we get that wonderful phone call, you're on record. And so when you're on record, it's because Douglas County has recorded your documents. And that's where that comes from, you're on record. And congratulations, you own a new home, or yay, your proceeds are on their way. So that's why it's nice.
Yep, those are the magic words. So we're getting ready to come in and close. What should we bring? What should we be prepared to bring with us?
Like I mentioned before, make sure you have like an hour and a half and 2 forms of ID. A lot of lenders do ask for 1 form of identification, but some do ask for 2 forms of identification. So just be prepared. You may be asked for 2 forms. A passport could work. Of course, your driver's license is, perfect day number 1. And so, yeah.
And so we've gone through all that, and now my agent's gotten the call that we're on record. When can I expect to receive copies of all of my documents?
Well, I prepare them that day. As we're going through the process of closing the documentation, I'm getting the loan funds from everything's coming in. That's the same day we're going ahead and prepare all the closing paperwork. So you could come in, probably 4:30 to 5 to pick up a package if you wanted to pick up your package right away, or I can mail it to you and it'll just get mailed out that same day.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for being here and walking us through the ominous process of that. In addition to paper documents, if you'd like, Western Title also can supply a disc for you that's actually very interactive. It will tie exactly to your property. It gives you lots of really neat information in addition to an electronic copy of all the documents that you've signed. So if you want to go green and save a tree, we'll be happy to provide that closing for you on a disc. Just let your escrow officer know or have your real estate agent communicate that with us, and we're happy to do it. If you'd like more information on that or any other services that Western Title can provide, you can visit us at www.westerntitle.net, or you can call us on our main line at 775-332-7100, and we can direct your call to any one of our easy to get to locations. Thank you.
Thank you.